Jeff has said he won't be here, so I'll go through the usual preamble. So this is to identify Steve Walker as chair, Pete Lincoln, Steve Ashashambomba. I can never pronounce your other names. The other Steve, yep. And Faith and Joe, which I may already have said. So I need to go through that as a rota. So when I call your name, please respond. Pete Lincoln.
Here.
Steve.
Here.
Faith.
Here.
Jeff. Oh, no, he's not here. And support staff, I believe they're called. Joe.
Present.
So we've done that piece of it. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel and is being conducted remotely. In response to COVID-19, we're currently following guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Mass Department of Public Health, and CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread, and all town facilities are presently closed to the public. For this meeting of Pacc, we're convening by video conference via Zoom as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go, that's me, will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If you wish to engage with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. We have no members of the public here, even though we will have the opportunity for public comment. Finally, each vote taken at this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. First thing, would somebody care to volunteer to take notes to give to Jeff, please? Because trying to run the meeting and take notes doesn't work. That was a yes, Faith?
Oh, no, I was agreeing with you that it doesn't work to do the run the meeting and take notes.
I know.
I don't have, since I'm not working anymore and I don't have a computer handy. I regret that I cannot fill the role of secretary.
The Christmas tree man looks like he's getting ready. You're muted.
You did say to mute, so I just take notes and send them to my compatriot there.
If you wouldn't mind, I would be delighted to accept that offer.
All right, well then go for it.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, let me get organized here. You probably should all know that I'm not firing on all cylinders, as in the midst of a COVID pandemic, I managed to pick up Lyme disease.
Oh, no.
How'd you do that in the middle of winter with snow everywhere? But anyway, so I'm on a bunch of antibiotics, which I augment with single malt, and generally that seems improving the situation quite a lot. So sorry about that. Anybody have any public comments from the committee? Pete?
No.
Steve? Faith?
No.
Joe?
No.
Okay. We have the minutes from the last meeting sent out by Jeff, which I trust you've all been able to look at. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Jeff,
yes,
Faith.
I had sent to Jeff just a couple capitalization and, suggested edits he do to the minutes, just spelling, things like that.
So if you could mark up a copy and send it to Jeff, I think that would be a
Well, I
good
sent
idea.
it to him by email
Oh,
already.
that's excellent. Fine. Anybody else? In
I
which
mean, it was just
case,
something silly like Eagle House had to be capitalized. It wasn't
right.
anything substantive.
Yeah. Anyone else? Peter,
No.
Steve,
Then
Faith.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as amended for
Second that.
capitalization.
Second.
Was that a second, Pete?
Yes.
Thank you. All those in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Steve. You're still muted. Jeff. That works. Not Jeff. Faith.
Aye.
And me. I as well. So that's carried unanimously. Thank you. So moving on, we have actually on the agenda, it says review of last meeting discussions, but that was in reference to the previous meeting where it wasn't correctly posted. So we can skip by that one, at which point if the manager, being the young and delightful Joe, would care to give us her report, I would appreciate that. Thank you, Joe.
Sure. I'll make it as brief as possible. In addition to my administrative duties, some of the things that I've been working on, excuse me, or I've done in November, I see it's on the agenda, but I just will mention that we did a studio visit in November. Secondly, we had some Castus issues during a FinCom meeting, and we couldn't figure out it. It lost connection, and it turned out that Castus just did an update of the software on the 19th of November, and we haven't had that problem since. So it was something with the old software. Also, the music is all set. We are now contracted with DeWolf Music for each of our stations. It has been added to Channel 9, Channel 99, and as of today, Channel 8. There was a delay in posting to Channel 8 because there was some misunderstanding and miscommunication regarding the licensing and copyright of that music to go on YouTube. I was explained, it was explained to me in 5 different ways what needed to be done. And I finally talked to the manager today at DeWolf, and basically if a copyright infringement comes up on YouTube with their music, they go in and clear that violation. So that's why I delayed putting it on Channel 8 until it was totally understood what they were going to do.
Who's they?
DeWolf Music.
Oh, not YouTube.
No, the company that we are contracting with to provide us music. Any questions regarding the music?
I liked what I saw. I remember which channel it was, but the bulletin board was running and it made it much more friendly that there was some background. So that was good. Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, today I downloaded all Christmas music from DeWolf and put it up on the stations.
Excellent. Thank you.
Are you going to have the Yule log burning on with the Christmas music on Christmas Eve again?
Yes.
Or Christmas night?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'll be turning it on.
Oh, good. There was a request that came in to me from the athletic director at Lunenburg Middle and High School. They want to do live broadcasts of the basketball games. So I went to the gym and checked their connections and worked with IT to make the connection possible and ran a test, and everything worked out fine. That was for a single camera. That's the games are going to start on January 12th, and we're going to be doing just the boys varsity for now. Those games are Tuesday and Friday. It would be better to do multiple cameras. I don't know if I have the people to man the cameras. That's the only issue I have. However, the athletic director agreed to be trained on how to do this so that maybe we would have the camera people if he would be managing the switching and the live stream setup.
What about the girls varsity?
I'm not sure if we're going to be doing that. He said the games were on Tuesdays and Fridays. I'm not sure if he meant just boys or not. I'll have to find out.
Joe, are they
Because
gonna have
my-
excuse me, are they gonna have an announcer and be able to see the scores of the games this year?
Well, here's the thing. Right now, it's very simple to do one camera. We've never had any luck getting an announcer, and I don't know if we can. If we want to do more than one camera, like I said, I don't know if we have the staff to manage multiple cameras. But there is a product that was brought to light for me called the Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro. And it's similar to what we have now. It's basically a switcher with 4 inputs for 4 cameras. It has an encoder built in, and according to Eric, it has the ability to work with an iPad for the preview and the program monitoring. Eric seems to think a more updated ATEM Mini Pro could be on the horizon in the spring when the technology companies update their products. I checked in with Travis, and Travis is not a huge fan of this product just because there's only one HDMI input. And he didn't seem to like that because the switcher, the Roland switcher that we currently use, has 2 HDMI inputs for program and preview. But who's to say that the ATEM Mini Pro isn't going to come out with 2 HDMI inputs? So I'm still exploring that. The product is approximately $800, and to get a hard drive, an external hard drive to record a 5 terabyte would be about $120. But I still have more research to do on that. It's just, if we do more than one camera, we're basically loading 2 cartfuls of equipment to bring over to the gym, and it's labor intensive. And, you know, of course it's better to have more than one camera, and of course it's better to have an announcer. I don't think the announcer is going to happen, and the multiple camera is a possibility, but I don't know if I have the manpower to every, twice a week cart over two huge carts worth of cameras, stands, and all the peripheral equipment needed. So that's what I'm working on now.
Well, Joe,
Is-
if you remember when they were showing the game at Draken, there was just a crawl at the bottom of the screen that kept the score. Does that require another camera?
No,
if you
in
watch-
fact, there's 2 possibilities. They either do it in post-production, or it's something that Castus may be able to do. I have to check with them to find out.
Would this be live?
This would be live.
So you can't do it in post-production if it's
That's what I
live.
was thinking, yeah.
Can we get,
Oh, true.
is there an interface to the scoreboard technology that would let us do exactly what Pete just said?
What if the camera just aimed at the scoreboard?
Well, then we would need 2 cameras, and right now, the easiest solution to going live is single camera. But I
Can-
could
know-
look into. Hmm?
Faith, you're trying to say something.
Yeah, I know we've talked in the past about there's no security in having any equipment stored at the high school. Is that still correct? Or is it possible to buy a dedicated camera to keep at the high school instead of having to lug 2 cameras over? It would only require lugging 1. And then another question I have is whether, you know how there are team managers of the different teams and they're responsible for, for the cleaning of towels and equipment and stuff like that. Why can't the varsity coaches appoint someone to be the team announcer?
Well, these are
Or-
things I would need to check with the athletic director. And getting back to your suggestion about storing the equipment there, that would be a huge load off of the effort to get it over there.
Exactly. And plus we use
Especially,
the school for, don't you have school committee meetings there in the auditorium, and you have, the town meetings are there. I mean, there are things that happen there that we should, have a secure equipment room over there.
yes, if we had a secure equipment room, this is
Even just a
something-
closet that we could keep locked up.
Yes, I will check with the athletic director and find out if that's possible. Then we would be able to move all of the equipment and keep it there for, January, February, March. This would be the current equipment we have, the C3PU, the 3 cameras, all the equipment, the headsets, the whole deal.
You'd want to keep it there, May for the town meeting. I mean, there are a lot of reasons to have a dedicated group just kept at the high school year round.
That's a great suggestion. I will look into it.
Also, I would suggest that the public speaking teachers maybe give extra credit for someone who wants to be the announcer of sporting events.
Mhm.
That might be extra credit, or it could be, I don't know if there's some kind of broadcasting club that
Yeah,
might be interested.
last we checked, we had no luck, but that was last year, so we could always recheck again.
Okay, also, would it be against the rules to pay a student to do to do a filming or to do announcing? If it were
Peter,
paid?
you're trying to get in here, Peter. Do you have a contribution?
I filmed all the varsity football games through the 80s on video. And as the filmer, I was the announcer too. I would just tell
Yeah.
what was happening. Why
Yeah,
can't
my-
whoever's shooting this thing just tell what the score is as it happens?
Yeah, my son did
Why
the
not?
same thing for his high school, and it
don't
was
have
a
to hire an
single
extra person.
camera, and he also announced while he did the shooting too. Yeah,
It doesn't have to be professional. Just tell what the score is. If you're watching a
Yeah.
basketball game, you don't know what the score is. There's not much point to watching it.
yeah.
So, Joe, I think what I'm hearing is try and find storage space. Start off probably with 1 camera. If we can't get an announcer, then see if we have a cameraman who would like to take a shot at it.
Just say the
Uh,
score. He doesn't
Yeah, I
have
mean,
to be
you just
professional.
have to talk and say what's going on, right?
Yeah, that's all. It's easy.
So is that okay, Joe? Do you have a master plan in your mind?
No, I like the idea of starting out with a single camera.
Yeah.
I would like to increase it to more.
Absolutely.
But what I'll do is, I will check on storage. I will check on an announcer. And
Can I say one other thing?
Sure.
When I was a girl, they didn't have any varsity sports, even though I really enjoyed playing sports. And since Title 19, it's just so important that girls' sports be given the same recognition as boys' sports. And I don't think it's fair to just film the boys' varsity without the girls' varsity.
Okay.
It really offends me very much.
Well, they filmed all the field hockey games.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, do they film the boys hockey? I mean, there are going to be inequities, obviously, like football games, but where there are varsity basketball for girls as well as boys, I think wherever there is equity, there ought to be equity in filming as well.
So
Now,
Joe, can you find out if there's a
Yeah.
conflict with doing that, please?
Sure,
Thank you.
sure.
And even if we have to do it Mondays or Tuesdays, whatever it is, or for the boys and Fridays for the girls or whatever, if they both have the same days, then we don't have to do the boys every time. We can do the girls sometimes.
Absolutely. And I didn't clarify that with the athletic director, so I'll make sure I do.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, turn your microphone on and
I
tell us
did.
what you.
I did. Just so you know, Faith, when the boys are at home, the girls are away. When the girls are at home, the boys are away. So you're not going to have them in the same building at the same time.
Okay,
So-
it used to be that it was boys and girls at the same time,
Yeah.
like the other school would come over to your school for boys and girls sports when I taught high school, but it may have changed.
I think it's
nowadays.
changed.
A
They
long
may
time.
have changed it back with COVID. I don't know. But when I was there, the girls were away.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Moving on to the next thing, we have ordered a PC for one of our videographers to use to administer the Zoom meetings with Castus. We should be getting it this week, and it falls under the CARES Act, so it will be paid for by the state. And after this is all over, if this ever is over, we're going to need the PCs because I would need one, first of all, but second of all, we could always add some editing software to them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And use them that way. So that's coming this week. I need to order a time clock, a countdown time clock
Yes.
for the studio. When I checked on the prices last week, they were $67. And when I went back to the same place, they're now $95.
Wow.
So I'd like to order that I may wait a week to see if the closer we get to Christmas, there might be some sales.
But our
Right.
budget was only $87. I don't know what you're doing.
So I have to order that, and so that's
That doesn't need a motion, but up to $100 sounds reasonable to me. Everyone else?
Yes.
okay. Eric and I have been working on, or just started working on studio lighting because the subjects in the studio could look a lot better with a little bit of backlight and a little bit of lighting from the side. So Eric gave me a possibility on some lighting. I'm not sure it's the right, I can't find it now. I'm not sure it's the right thing. It's on B&H and it's $284 for 2 LED lighting kits. I'm thinking about that, although I'm not going to present all the information because we're still looking at some alternatives. But
Joe, we have some tungsten ones in a case that you still have tucked away.
right.
What I'm wondering, just putting this out there, given that we're moving forward with getting our new studio space,
Mhm.
if you could use that to improve the lighting for the time being, because we have to bring in an expert to do the proper lighting and pipe work and chains and drapes and everything else. So that
But-
would be my suggestion to you if we could
Okay.
do that.
But for
Okay.
the,
Faith.
remember we have an interview room, a smaller space for one-on-one discussions and things like that in the studio plan? Could something like that be used in a smaller space, such as what's in the plan for the new studio?
I think the issue is we need to bring in an expert, some level of architect for all the 3 studio spaces and come up
Mhm.
with a master plan for them, which we can talk a little bit more when we get to the TCP architect update. But what I'm reluctant to do at the moment is invest in equipment that may not be the right equipment for our real solution.
Right, but I'm thinking that maybe this equipment could be used in, for example, when we do on location at Eagle House, let's say, with performances that are done there. Maybe that requires additional lighting, or some library program that might require additional programming. Additional lighting for their programming. So while it may not fit in the studio spaces, maybe it will be helpful to invest in this for future off-site productions.
Well, the lighting kits that he suggested, I like that they're LED. They're also pretty large.
Oh, they are.
And I'm thinking about some alternatives because now they make a lot of powerful, lightweight, portable lighting kits.
Yeah,
And, that's sort of what, in my mind, what I think we could use more
Yeah.
so than what he suggested. But we're kicking around different ideas. Even, he was even going to look at Home Depot to see what kind of interesting lighting that they had.
mhm.
Yes, Ocean State Job Lot has some nice ones as well.
Mm,
Okay, I mean, because of where our situation, we're between a rock and a hard place. We're not moving forward. We're not moving back. So we're just going to be working on some solutions, and we'll keep you posted and look for approvals when we think we have the right thing.
Good.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
yeah,
Okay, and also another part of that studio, as far as the studio goes, Eric said that he would like to have a small section of the studio to do, his term was product work. In other words, taking still shots under lights or still videos under lights. So basically it would be a table, maybe 3x4, nothing big, draped with something where he could take video of things like he does with the story time books. I don't know if do you know what I mean, or is it confusing?
But it sounds like it's something that we could put in the main studio anyway, because we're going to use 3 corners of that for different functions. So,
mhm.
Steve, you went very quiet because you're muted.
No, I was just saying, I agree, their space needs to be made for the still images because you have to, it's like time photography, yeah, whatever. No.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
thank you.
and we're, as far as expense, it would be very little expense to get a used table, to get some basic lighting.
Salvation Army.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to scope out a lot of different places and
Yeah.
find something that's suitable and make a little corner. And he definitely does that kind of work with the story time books, and it would be helpful. So the only other thing I have on here is the architect that Steve and I are working with, and nothing to report. It's already on the agenda. As far as the package of information that I sent you, this month's expenses were only November expenses were only my salary and the payroll for videographers. That was it. However, we did take in $287 in interest on the enterprise fund.
Hmm.
And that's incorrect.
No, that was October. You want
That was
November.
October. For November, we took in $302.35 in interest. And we did receive the Comcast payment of $49,670.
Which is actually up from August, which is interesting.
It is
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Wow.
So there's nothing huge to report there, but our ending balance as of the end of November is $775,048.
Can we get access to that in small, unsequenced dollar bills?
How about pennies?
A little too heavy.
Okay, and excuse me, I did include the town financial report and the calendars. And as far as our program analysis for November, the sheet with the pie graph, we
Pie
are
chart.
at 71% access share, which is programs downloaded or provided to us from other stations, and 29% local. As far as this month, we did pretty well. We added a few access share programs, but we aired four Eagle House things. World War II letters, which was a presentation, the Eagle House Halloween drive-through and the Halloween Thanksgiving drive-through, and the Eagle House Discovery Center, which was a 20-minute interview with Sue Doherty and the Discovery Center advisors. So that went over really well. And we also, it was provided by another station, but we did a virtual Veterans Day program. And we added a number of PSAs from another station as well.
Are we down in local production because of COVID? Is that and there aren't the events taking place?
Yes.
And sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know we've been as high as like 60 or 70, almost 70% local.
That's
At one
typical
point.
for us. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
typical. Yeah.
So it's really cut in half.
Out of our control, sadly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Joe? Anybody have questions for Joe? Hearing none, moving on to the TCP Architect update. They made a presentation at the special town meeting, which actually I haven't seen. I think it was only stuff we already knew about, right, Joe? There was no vote taken or anything like that for the architects.
No, I don't believe so.
Right.
There was a presentation.
So they're now moving on. And Joe and I have a meeting on Wednesday, I believe.
Tuesday.
Well, that's almost the same. Really? I thought it was Wednesday. Hang on. I've got it down for the 9th.
Oh, maybe I'm sorry. I did it wrong. Yep,
Well,
you're right. You're
it's
right.
a 50-50 shot. We'll get one of them right.
It is the 9th. It is the 9th.
Don't do that to me.
I gotta change it on my phone because I put tomorrow.
I'm not firing on all cylinders as it is, so you're getting the best you're getting at the moment. They are starting to talk about things like what floors, if the doors have windows in them, what kind of lighting to put in. And Joe and I are going to fumble our way through this, but what I would like an opinion on, my concern right now is I see no signs that these architects have a clue how to deal with things like a studio, pipe work for lighting, soundproofing, and all this kind of thing. Joe and I went to, where the hell did we go? Draycott we went to,
Mhm.
which was really nice. And we'd looked at the Leominster one as well. And both of them used a specialist architect to help them. And I'm really at the point where I think we need to bring somebody in. But to do that, yes, Joe. Oh,
Sorry to interrupt. Neither of them used a professional studio designer. They both used architects, but not studio design architects.
oh, I'd misunderstood that. I thought what I was really looking for is if we look at our studio space, which is quite nice. I like where it's put in the building. Half of it is administration and normal office type of work, and we have places for equipment, but the other half needs specialist treatment.
Yeah.
And that's things like the lighting and the soundproofing, maybe particular flooring materials so cameras roll and things like that. What I'm wondering and where I'm looking for opinions is it time for us to tell the TCP architects that they either find somebody or we find somebody who can help us with the specialist side of this, so they don't get too far ahead before
Right.
we go through the requirements that we have to follow. Because we're a town department, we need multiple quotes and things like that. Faith.
Well, I was going to suggest a motion, but I'm not sure whether you would prefer that they hire someone or that we directly hire someone. Because if it's a matter of expense, they may not want to hire someone. But if we hire that expert at coming out of our budget as opposed to their budget, then they may not give a hard time about it.
I don't think they would hire someone within their budget because they're running tight already.
All right, so do you need a motion that we can discuss? Because I would make a motion to that we hire a studio architectural expert to assist the TCP architects in designing our studio space.
Okay, can I let Steve and Pete comment on that? We're moving the right way.
Have a second
Peter.
before?
My grandfather built a radio station.
Wow.
In WARE down in Ware. And one of his major concerns was to make sure that the walls were both soundproof and echo proofed. And
oh, echo proof's interesting. Yeah.
Certain kind of tiles that they're not expensive, but they're tiles with holes in them set up so that there's no echoing at all. And they did live shows there, music shows, as well as just broadcasting. And that was his biggest concern in building it, was the sound.
Yeah.
It's not expensive, but it's just different types of materials that you put up with. There's a lot of holes in them, and somehow that prevents the sound from echoing.
Well, it's kind of what we've been trying to understand with studio visits, but what we haven't come up with apparently is the kind of expert we think we need. Steve, do you have some comment, please?
Yes, there was a school that was built a few years ago, and they built the music room in such that when they put the risers in, all the wall plugs were underneath. And if anyone stood on the risers, the heads were going through the ceiling. So the architects, and I know with our high school and middle school, there were some things that were done that I had to argue with the architects. One specific, the doors to the auditorium backstage, they were just gonna have a single door with a hallway, an L. And I finally convinced them that you can't bring in equipment and stage sets if you have to go through an L. It has to be a double door. Finally, they said, yeah, okay, we'll do that. So I agree with Faith. You really need to have someone who understands studio details,
Right.
because it's as simple as where are the plugs? You know,
Right.
how, you know, that kind of stuff. Once they put the plans in, you're done.
Yeah.
You know, but before they do that, they can say, oh, you're gonna need extra this, you're gonna need that. Oh, we need to have this in the walls, as Pete said. So,
You know, and also the wiring for the lights, because, you know,
Yes.
our lights that we're gonna need in the studio are gonna take a lot more power than just, you know, office lights in other parts of the building. So we need to make sure that the wiring is done correctly too.
We need extra power and extra air conditioning as well.
Right. Also, I'm wondering, you know, that organization that we belong to of the other public access stations?
Yep.
I recall years ago that you guys said that they had, or they knew of specialists who helped other PACs design their studios. Is there any resource there?
Yeah, I actually did send that request out, and I got one response back from a studio designer.
Uh-huh.
Here's the issue with everything that we're talking about. There is town procurement rules, and
Right.
that means
Right.
we have to specify everything down to the nuts and bolts
Yeah,
We have
of
to do an
what we want
RFP,
them
right?
to do.
right.
Then put it, and then put in have them submit sealed bids before we can do anything. The process takes about a month
Yeah,
to do that.
right.
It's got to be advertised in 3 different places. It's got to be the work has got to be done under prevailing wages. We, you know, every little tiny thing we want to put into this studio needs to go through the procurement process. I know.
Well, I'm just wondering if it doesn't have to be that detailed, if the
Oh.
details are, no, because we're not buying the lighting equipment. What we're buying are services of someone who's an expert in, and then we can list, you know, lighting, soundproofing, or acoustics, and you know, we can list the qualities of what we're looking for without having to go into the actual equipment they'll be using.
I
Steve
suppose-
has his
just a
hand up.
point of order, no one has seconded this motion.
I know, I said that
I
like
know, I'm
5
sorry,
minutes ago.
we
So
got
I will
excited.
second it so that we can have an actual discussion.
Thank you, Steve. Why don't you make a note that you did that?
I am doing it right now.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
I mean, because an RFS, request for services, is different than request for, you know, to procure products. Because with products, you have to be very detailed into what those products, the specifications, and what they can do so that people can price fairly. It's the same thing with services, but it's not you know, if we just say what services we're looking for, then contractors can respond to our request for services.
Well, if they do, if they are in a position to answer our request for services, what it's going to do is prompt them to ask us, well, what kind of lighting, what kind of nuts and bolts, what kind
But that's
of.
what we're asking them to tell us. That's what we're paying them to do, to tell us what kind of lighting we need, what kind of soundproofing we need. They're the experts. So we're just looking for services. We're not looking for equipment at this point.
We've got 2 levels here. One of which is to have the building services appropriate for what we need, followed by specific equipment
Yes,
what we've already specified is capable of managing.
correct.
Our problem right now is the TCP architects are trundling on as happily as they can, and 80% of what they have to do is in their skill set, as far as I can tell. So
Mhm.
they're very good at knowing how many toilets to put in the building. When we need to tell them about power, about non-interruptible power, about additional air conditioning for hot equipment, soundproofing, all this kind of stuff, what I'm really looking for, I believe, is kind of a support studio design expert of some
Yes,
kind who can sit behind Joe and myself as we try and manage these architects. My
yes.
suspicion is it won't be cheap, but I think what Faith was trying to put into a motion, which Steve kindly seconded to keep us in order, was we need two things. One, the ability to go out and look for such a person with the help of mass access or whatever, with the hindrance of the procurement process of Massachusetts, and do it quickly so that we can keep the TCP architects on our side. And that would need to include a potential maximum budget, because quite honestly,
Yes,
I have no idea, not a clue what such a person would cost.
Well, I have Access AV is one possibility. They build out studios, and
Yep.
the other person, I got their name from the Mass Access feed, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I will get you that.
I thought Drake had somebody they used.
They had an architect, not a studio architect.
So who did they? Oh, I guess they were talking about the people who actually install the pipework and things. That was the other thing they were talking about. Okay. We need 3, right?
I think we should have 3. I can send out another request on
Yeah.
Mass Access.
I think, and put a note of urgency. We need to move on this kind of thing. We're getting close.
and instead of a
So-
hindrance, we can just look at it as a way of developing talent. There may be hidden talent out there locally that would jump at a chance to design our studio.
Yeah,
So
I would love someone with experience. Steve, mute, unmute.
I don't know. A quick search says that fees typically range from $2,000 to $8,000, averaging 5, but fees can be higher depending on the complexity of the job. This is a smaller job, so I'm thinking probably $2,000 to $5,000. You could probably get someone to advise you. Does that make sense?
So if I
That's just
suggested,
a quick search.
if I suggested not to exceed 10,000,
yeah,
You would
I would,
probably
be
be
well
okay.
in shape.
I would,
So Faith, would you
amend my motion
please.
to say that.
Go on then? We're ready.
Okay,
Let me read it then.
Steve,
yes,
yeah.
please.
A motion to hire a studio expert to assist the TCP architect in planning specific studio details.
Not to exceed
Not to exceed, that's what I needed. Not to exceed 10,000.
$10,000.
Okay, got it.
Okay, do I have a
Thank you.
second for
I
the
second it.
modified?
He
I
already
have to do it because
seconded
I'm
it.
the second guy. I have to agree to the,
Of course you do.
if Faith changes it, I can agree to change my second, so you don't have to do a second thing and
Thank you.
shortcut.
Okay, Pete, you're out of the picture. Sorry about that. It was a valiant attempt. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none by roll call. Pete,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Faith,
Aye,
Me. I, Jeff, not present. So no nays hit the books. So appropriately passed. Thank you. So Joe, you, and if I can help, we have some work to do.
Okay.
Okay, Joe, did you want to give an update on the Drake studio visit? Or just say it was really good? That was good.
I'm sorry, I'm sending you guys one of the, I'm sorry, I was sending you the name of the, one of the design studio consultants.
Okay.
Okay, the only thing, I just want to mention, I was really impressed with the studio, not the studio, the whole building layout was fantastic. It was fairly compact. There were no big offices or rooms, but everything seemed to be about the right size for the amount of people that were there.
It was 4,500 square feet, I think, right?
Yeah, way bigger than ours, but the rooms were moderate to small. I was impressed with the signage. It was very professional. And with the monitors everywhere. I mean, after all, it's a TV station. They should be everywhere.
That I thought was excellent. I thought that was a really good thing.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of the rigging work that was done for lighting and for the cabling, especially the cabling, all above, it looked, it kept it neat. And
Yeah, I was uncomfortable with the flooring because they didn't have the ability for a smooth raised floor with the camera cables and everything underneath them. But
yeah,
but
yeah,
it seemed to work for them.
yeah. Their lighting was pretty amazing.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Yeah, the lighting was really great. Um, that's that's about it. I mean, it was definitely impressive, and it was worth the visit.
Yeah, I felt so. Peter,
I was impressed by the fact that they had 4.5 full-time employees,
well, they also
They
have a
had
town
three-
that's
they have
4 times as big as ours.
but they just run 3 channels. It makes no difference.
Yeah,
They have nothing more on the air than we do as far as time.
right.
And I think, as I've said since I joined this committee, Joe is way overworked. We need someone to help her.
Right.
Yep.
But
She's
we
And
also
we
bear in
have
mind
that in our budget for someone to help her.
we do.
She has to
But-
do all the everything.
But Drake's budget is probably 4 times what ours is.
If you remember what they
But
said
do
about
they-
financing there.
But do they have
Problem.
more than one cable station? Because remember, some of the
Does-
towns had two.
Doesn't matter. People generally take either Comcast or Verizon, and the sum of the pair ends up to be the population of the town.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, there were two revenue sources in some of the stations we visited.
Correct, but they only provide, if there are 2, each of them only provides half the subscribers.
But yes, I understand, but the percentages were different from the
Oh, I
different
know.
providers.
We're at 5%, so we can't exceed that.
Right, it was,
I believe they were at 2.5.
I know. They were a low
Very
number.
low.
Yeah, we should advise them.
Free of charge.
Peter,
The other thing, I had a long talk with one of the fellows that you weren't talking to, and he told me that almost all the original programming has to be originated by the people that work there. Just because they have this gorgeous studio, people do not flock to put shows on.
yeah,
He said he used to work in Acton. It was different in Acton, but in Draycote, they have to think of their own shows, and they only have a couple more original shows than we do.
hmm
yeah,
For all the studio's gorgeous, but it's difficult to get people who want to come in and put on their
Right.
own shows, not coverage of events.
yeah.
right.
That's no problem. I want this covered. I want to cover this way. But for someone to come in with an original show that runs as a series, they have just as much difficulty as we do.
Right,
Mhm.
right. That's
And
not
there's-
unexpected.
And there's
yeah.
31,000 people there as opposed to 11.
Okay, well, thank you, Joe. I see we have royalty-free music, not royalty. And you covered that in your report unless you want to add anything?
We'll see how it works out. They promised me that if I have any problems with YouTube, they will fix it.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Mhm.
The next meeting is January the 4th. Is that good for everybody?
Yeah.
As far as we can tell at this point?
Yep.
In which case I would entertain a motion from Peter.
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Second,
Second.
any further oh no, there's no discussion on that one. All in favor? Let's just do aye.
Hi.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Good night.
I'll
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
And to you. Thank you all. I'll talk to you tomorrow, Joe.
Okay,
Bye.
Thank you all. Good night.
good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.